Apprenticeships Development Manager for Apprenticeship Vacancies. Nice short catchy title for London and the South East. So I'm here to talk to you today about apprenticeships, give you an introduction to apprenticeships and also the apprenticeship vacancy system, and also particularly for when you're dealing with people, to give them some top tips and hints how to actually go about getting an apprenticeship and hopefully how to maximise their chance of becoming successful in one. So what I'm planning to cover today is to actually introduce the apprenticeship opportunities and also the career progression opportunities that are available through apprenticeships. I'm also going to present some of the latest information around apprenticeships and also update you on some of the employer opportunities that are available. I'm sure some of you have seen the apprenticeship vacancy system, and I will talk you through that as well and show you some of the hints and tips when you are dealing with people and actually making use of the apprenticeship vacancies. Right, so I'm going to take really right back to basics. So what exactly is an apprentice? An apprentice is an employee within a company. They just happen to be doing a qualification at the same time. Since the 1st of April this year, it became law that an apprentice has to now be employed. So the very crux now of an apprenticeship is they have to hold a contract of employment and they have to be paid for all of the time that they're doing either both employment and the actual qualification as well. How's the apprenticeship actually delivered? The apprenticeship can be pretty flexible. It's flexible to meet the needs of both the learner and also the employer itself. So some apprentices will never ever leave their workplace with all of their employment and their training being done on the job, with the training provider possibly going actually into the employer's workplace. Other apprenticeships will follow what's known as the traditional route, where they might have 1 day a week where they'll go and do a day release actually with a college or a training provider, and then work for 4 days in the actual employer's premises. Other ones, depending on some of the specialist ones, will have other delivery methods. So for example, we have some actual apprenticeships which are done as block release, and there may actually be residential block release as well, and we will actually pay those residential costs as well. So for example, one of the key ones that this happens with is farriery. We have quite a lot of apprentices that become farriers or blacksmiths. They actually go away. There's only one training provider that undertakes that programme within England. So all of the apprentices go as a residential to there 1 week in every 6. So the whole programme is built to be as flexible as it needs for both the learner and the employer. So the apprenticeship is built up of a suite of qualifications. It normally has the MVQ, or the competency section of the qualification. It will have the technical certificate and also either key or functional skills, along with also employment rights and responsibilities. So this is to ensure the apprentice understands what they have to do by law for their employer and also what their employer has to do for them. All of those sections of the qualifications have to be completed and successfully passed before it's then deemed the person has gained their apprenticeship. There are 3 different levels of apprenticeships. The first one is the intermediate apprenticeship. So this is a level 2 qualification. The next one is the advanced apprenticeship, so that's a level 3 qualification. There's now also higher apprenticeships available, and these go right the way from levels 4, 5 and 6. So it is possible now to get through to graduate level using the apprenticeship route as an option. So it is really broadening out the apprenticeship offer now. A lot of companies are actually changing their recruitment patterns to actually take on board apprenticeships. So for example, you'll have seen in the media some of the big companies, the likes of McDonald's, the Sainsbury's, Rolls-Royce, they all now make use of apprenticeships as one of their main training patterns. We've now got new employers coming online all the while with apprenticeships. One recent one has been PricewaterhouseCoopers. Traditionally, they have always used the graduate route to train their staff. They've now cut their graduate programme in half. They're doing half using apprenticeships. So they're now recruiting 16 right the way up, aged people to actually undertake the apprenticeship programme. They end up with exactly the same qualification. The difference is they're employed throughout, they're getting work experience, and they're receiving a salary throughout as well. Right, there is a change in programme coming on board from August the 1st this year. From August the 1st, all 16 to 18-year-old apprenticeships cannot be any less than 12 months in duration. We had some recent negative publicity around a certain number of training providers that were doing what's known as accelerated models. We're not happy with it at all. We have taken very severe action with those training providers, and we're working with them to change their model. The whole point of an apprenticeship is it should be a quality product. They should get good work experience. They should have a very good learning experience throughout the whole programme. That's why these changes in policy are being brought in. Learners can progress through an apprenticeship at different rates. The whole programme is built to follow the learner. So if a learner starts progressing through their qualification quicker, they are able to achieve at a quicker rate. If they find a section harder, the qualification is made so it will actually meet the needs of the learner. It is, as I've said, a very, very flexible qualification. Learners don't pay anything at all for their training. The training, depending on age, is funded by the government and the employer. If a learner is 16 to 18, the government pay all of their training via ourselves, via the National Apprenticeship Service. Anyone 19 or above, the government pays 50% of the cost. Then the employer is expected to make a contribution of the other 50% of the cost. That doesn't necessarily have to be in money at the moment. That can also be in time off they allow the learner to study, the fact that they're providing supervision for the learner. So it can also be deemed in kind. But at no point should the learner be paying for any of their training. All apprentices have to be employed for 30 hours a week. That time also includes their time of study, and the employer has to pay the salary, even though they might not actually be at the work employer's premises. So they may be at college one day a week, they should still be receiving a salary even though they're at college. As it says there at the bottom, the employer has to be willing to allow the learner time off to actually undertake their study. So, one of the key advantages of becoming an apprentice, they're going to earn a salary. The very bare minimum an apprentice can earn is £2.60. So for a 16 to 18-year-old, that's £2.60 an hour. For someone that's 19 or above, it's £2.60 for the first year of their apprenticeship. After that, they have to go up onto the national minimum wage. This is monitored by the Low Pay Commission, so employers are monitored to ensure that they are paying the national minimum wage. This is the bare minimum. The average at the moment on our system is £170 a week, but it does vary depending on the sector. So certain sectors traditionally will tend to veer towards the lower end of the wage bracket. So normally we tend to find some of the hairdressing, some of the care sectors will end towards the lower end. Some of the engineering, some of the more high-tech sectors tend to be towards the higher end. At the moment we've got vacancies on for £370 a week. So it does show the real range in actual vacancies we get. And it also depends on the employer as well. It is a real job, so apprentices have to have a contract of employment from day one. An apprentice cannot be an apprentice without a contract of employment. They're going to be receiving relevant job training and they're learning very job-specific skills. There are now over 220 different apprenticeships. They pretty much cover most sectors that you can imagine. We've got new apprenticeships coming on at all times. We've got employers designing their own apprenticeships, which then sector skills councils actually qualify. So it is a flexible qualification that's deemed to meet the needs of the employer. As I said, an apprentice works at their own pace, unit by unit, and it does suit someone with quite a practical learning style, and they are going to be gaining work experience throughout. Many apprentices do progress on to university. It's possible to do that either by the normal graduate route or even now taking the higher apprenticeship route. So it is seen as a route to a full career. It isn't just you do an apprenticeship and stop. It should be seen as a career progression pathway. 9 out of 10 apprentices, when they've completed, are either in work or carry on to further education. So it does have a very, very good success rate. There were some recent studies as well, independent studies carried out on behalf of the government, and you can read them. They are all housed at apprenticeships.org. But one of the key findings was that on average an apprentice, when they've completed, over their lifetime, will earn on average £100,000 more than someone that hasn't completed an apprenticeship. So they are really beneficial routes to take. I'm not here to say there's an apprenticeship for everyone. There isn't. I really wish there was. We do have a limit on employer opportunities, but they are a valid path to actually look at and consider. So who can actually do an apprenticeship? At the moment, anyone aged 16 or above. There's no upper age limit on apprenticeships now. Our eldest apprentices are in their 70s with B&Q. So it shows that it is a route for everyone. A lot of people now are using them to actually change career paths. So where they might have had a career for a certain point in time, they now want to change to a different field. Apprenticeships are providing that opportunity now. Entry requirements do vary, and they do vary employer to employer and training provider to training provider. Some qualifications will ask for very specific academic qualifications. So, for example, if someone's looking to go into engineering, they'd be needing grade A's and B's at English and Maths. Without that, they won't be able to complete the framework. Other sectors won't ask for any specific qualifications. What they may ask for in place of these is other soft skills, so motivation, reliability, punctuality, all of those kind of things. So it is worthwhile looking at each vacancy in its own and seeing what both the employer and the training provider is asking for. Right, these are some of the successes that we've got of the apprenticeship programme. These are last year's qualification figures. So in 2010-11, there were just over 450,000 people started an apprenticeship last year. 200,000 people completed their apprenticeship, and the success rate for achieving their apprenticeship now is 76.4%. When you consider back in 2003 this was at 31%, you can see how far the actual qualification has gone. Training providers now are monitored on their success rates. They're given a level. If they fail to get people above that level, they lose their contract. So we are very, very keen that people start an apprenticeship and go on to actually complete. The programme is going from strength to strength. We've got more and more employers than ever now taking on apprentices. You'll have seen there is a lot of media around apprenticeships at the moment. And we're just coming out of Apprenticeship Week as well. That was at the beginning of February. So you will have seen a lot of it in the news. There's also a number of incentives that have recently been launched by the government to try and increase apprenticeships further. So there's age grants available for any young person aged 16 to 24 who's unemployed. We will pay the employer £1,500 for taking them on. There's a number of other grants available as well. From the Department of Works and Pensions, there's a contract that's available as well, and that also provides funding for an employer if they take someone onto an apprenticeship. So this is just an overview of some of the vacancies that were posted on the system last year. This is showing the areas that they were posted. So you can see straight away the biggest area that was posted last year is for business and administration and law. So this also covers providing financial services, customer service, accountancy. They all drop into that area. So it is a very, very broad area. Then you can see the breakdown of all the different areas as you go through the presentation. This is just a different representation of the sectors that you can actually see. So these are the key frameworks. So these are the individual qualifications that have been delivered. So as you can see, business admin was our biggest area. Then it goes through construction, engineering, health and social care, IT professional, hospitality, retail and hairdressing. They were our top 10 sectors last year. Right, so where do we ask people to go to if they want to become an apprentice? We ask them to go to apprenticeship vacancies. This is the one-stop shop now for where anyone can gain information. There's dedicated sections for both candidates, employers, and information and advice and guidance professionals such as yourself is all contained within that website. It's there that we actually house apprenticeship vacancies, and this is the government system where training providers upload their vacancies on behalf of the employers, and then candidates can go on and actually apply for the vacancies online. Typically we have over 10,000 live vacancies every day. Last month in February we hit 18,000 live vacancies on one day. Unfortunately we have got vacancies which are going unfilled, which when you consider youth unemployment it's wrong. So please do prompt people to actually go onto the site. They are all genuine employed apprenticeships. We check everyone before they go live on the site. So we are very, very keen to ensure the integrity of the system. When a candidate goes onto the system, they complete one form. The system then holds that form. They can go on and update that form as many times as they want, but they're in control of the system. The system's accessed through apprenticeships.wmv, which will tell you everything that you need to know about apprenticeships. Vacancies are posted by numerous different employers. from some small SMEs, your one-man bands, your two-man bands, right the way up to the very large multinational companies. So the likes of Rolls-Royce, Jaguar, BMW, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Sainsbury's, Cable and Wireless. At the moment we've got Carolyn, have got 1,000 vacancies on there. So you'll see new vacancies coming on all the time. So when you do see opportunities or you're dealing with people who are looking for opportunities, please do prompt them to apply as soon as possible. When the vacancies are filled, they are taken off the system. So it is important that people do apply when they do see the opportunities. So what I'm going to do now is just talk you through some of the sites and just show you some of the prompts on the actual system. So when a candidate first goes on, they can actually search for apprenticeship opportunities. So there's a number of ways they can search. They can search by vacancy number if you've seen the actual vacancy they might be interested in. Keyword search, vacancy title, framework name. They can search by employer name and also training provider name. So there's loads of ways they can search. They can also put in a location or their postcode as well and then press search. What it will then do is bring back searches that exactly match what they've actually put in. So on this dummy example here, we put a search in, it brought back 2 adverts with 3 vacancies that exactly matched what we searched within a certain area. What you can also see just below, that bit there is actually saying to the apprentice or the candidate, if you expand your search slightly, these are all the extra opportunities that will be available. So what it's trying to do is make them look a little bit broader than what they may have initially put in. So it will slightly broaden both the travel distance and it will also broaden, say, the sector, or look for similar jobs within similar roles, just to try to get them to look at a wider available options. When they see an opportunity they like, they click on the link and it will then bring through the normal job description. So it's exactly as you would see with any other job description. So it will tell you who the training provider is, who the employer is. It will tell you about the employer. It will also tell you the actual job description. It will tell you the weekly wage and the working week as well. What the actual system will also do, it will ask certain questions. It will also tell you what skills and qualities the employer and the training provider are actually looking for. It will also give a reality check, which is really, really useful if a candidate hasn't necessarily considered what the job might involve. So, for example, construction, they're going to be working outside in all weathers. It's amazing the number of people that start and then drop off when they realise they're going to be outside in the cold and the wet. So we're just trying to make people to be realistic about what they're looking at and what they're actually applying for. When a candidate then fills their application form in, it's a normal CV that they're filling in within the site. So what we ask for is that they make sure all of their details are up to date on the system, that they've got an accurate telephone number and also an accurate email address. Something else to be aware of when you are advising people is to make sure their email address is appropriate. The number of email addresses that I get sent to me from training providers and employers which are wholly inappropriate, and that's the first thing the employer is going to see about them. The other thing is answer phone messages as well. If they're applying for jobs, please make sure their answer phone message is appropriate. If the employer's going to leave a call, the last thing they want to hear is zippy or bungle or something on the other end of the phone. It doesn't give the impression that they actually want. So it's just things like that prompt people to make sure they are being professional when they're applying. One of the main things to remember when they are actually applying, it is a job they're applying for. So they should be spending time on their application. I have to sit and review these applications. I get details of everyone that's unsuccessful. It's shocking when you look through some of the application forms and they've put 2 words in. What you have to think about from an employer's point of view, if someone can't even be bothered to answer a question properly, why should they even spend time looking at that person? It could be a brilliant candidate, but because they've only put 2 words in the box, they've knocked their chance out straight away. So do prompt people to spend time actually preparing. When people register on the system, they can create their application forms straight away. So if they spend time filling in that application form and making sure it's a good application form, when the vacancies come on, they can send it away immediately then. When a candidate starts applying, they have this on their side of the system. This is called the vacancy ladder. They can see in real time where the vacancies are. So this one, you can see the candidates sent their vacancy. They sent their application form off. They can withdraw their application form in real time as well. So if they decide they don't want that opportunity, they hit the halt button on the right, that withdraws their application form and notifies the employer that they've withdrawn their application form. What they'll also see is when the employer and the training provider review their application form, they'll see that in real time. So if they've been shortlisted, they'll see their application form move up. If they're made unsuccessful, they'll receive an email telling them they've been unsuccessful. They'll also see their application form drop out as well. So the system is talking to them in real time. So it is important that people do go on when they have made an application form just to keep reviewing their progress. There's some other sections of the system that people really need to make use of. The system will actually do the work for the candidate. So a candidate can set up alerts. What this means is every time a vacancy is posted that matches their search, the system will send them either emails or even a text message to their mobile phone. So it means they don't even have to bother going onto the system every day to review it. The system will do that check for them. So do make sure that people set these alerts up when you are working with them. They're really easy to set up. It's literally go in, press a tick box, you'll be sent a code, you put the code in. That's it. That's how difficult it is to actually create the alerts. So what available support is there? There's dedicated e-learning sites on apprenticeships.org. There's a dedicated site for candidates that will talk them through making an application form, things to do when they're doing an application form. There's also a dedicated e-learning site for people such as yourselves that will talk you through what a candidate is going to see when they're making an application form, things that you can tell candidates to do to actually improve it. You've got a separate site for yourselves where you'll see all the new information around apprenticeships is uploaded onto that section. You've got your own dedicated section under the title Stakeholders. You can actually register your own account as a stakeholder. We recommend that you do this rather than a candidate. We ask for this for two reasons. A candidate's account will time out after 6 months and it will delete the details. As a strategic partner, your account will never delete. So it means if you don't go in for 6-7 months, you'll still be able to access later. The other reason is we have to report back to ministers on the number of people using the system. If suddenly our figures dramatically jump because a load of people log on that aren't genuine candidates, it skews our figures. It's great for us, it looks like everybody's using the site, but it's not giving us accurate information. So do make sure you register as a strategic partner. There's some dedicated IAG packs available on the website. It's under the marketing material. It will talk you through every single framework. It even does lesson plans. If you're going into schools, there's lesson plans in there to introduce apprenticeships, talk you through it. There's loads and loads of marketing material on there and plans that you can actually use when you are dealing with people. All of this marketing material is updated regularly. You can also register for RSS feeds on the site. These are new sections on the site now, so it will actually tell you all new vacancies as they're uploaded. And it's like a scrolling bar, like you see on the BBC with the news flashes. That's what that does. It will also tell you vacancies which have got very low applications. So sometimes it's worthwhile looking at those vacancies with low applications. It does increase the chance of getting them. One thing that we do ask when you are working with people, please make sure they register their account as a candidate and not as a strategic partner. If they register as a strategic partner, they can't apply. You have slightly different functionality. So do make sure that they do register as an actual candidate. So top tips when you're actually supporting apprentices or candidates to become apprentices. Please remind them it is a very, very competitive process. So for example, in the current climate, it's getting more and more competitive. British Gas previously, they always recruit 500 apprentices a year. In the past, they'd expect about 5,000 applications. Last year, they got 60,000 applications for those same parts. So it just shows with the current economic climate, a lot of people are applying. That's why you need to make sure that their application forms are very good and they do spend time selling themselves. As I said, make sure they've got appropriate email addresses and also telephone messages. Ensure candidates are also careful when they're filling in the data on the application form. You'll see people put jokey things in, not realising that filters through to their actual application form. Make sure that it is an appropriate application form. Also, make sure candidates sell themselves. They need to be saying to the employer why they're the best person for this apprenticeship. Something else, when people are putting hobbies down, drinking with mates isn't necessarily the best thing. It doesn't necessarily give the greatest look. I see that all the while. So please do prompt people to think carefully about what they're putting down. Also, remember to always include work experience. Even if it's voluntary, even if it's been 2 weeks, it's showing that you've got other skills. Something else to make sure they put down is extracurricular activities at school. All of that will sell them to an employer. Also, remind candidates to go on and actually log on to their homepage so that they can see where their applications are actually up to. Encourage candidates to make use of the spell check. One of the worst things is when you review the application forms and there's silly spelling mistakes in. The whole system has a spell check on it. They don't even have to go through, they just press a button, it will check. Ensure they've actually thought about how they're going to travel to the employer. Make sure they're also prepared for their interview, so they are aware of what they're actually applying for, and also make sure they know which job it is they're going to the interview for. It's amazing how unprepared people can be when they turn up and not necessarily realise how competitive it is. Also, get the candidate to prepare a couple of questions, just to spend a little time as well preparing themselves for an interview. Some of these candidates, it'll be the first time they've ever actually gone to a proper job interview, and it can be daunting, so it's just trying to make sure they're putting over their best impression. As it says there, most employers are looking for people who are reliable, trustworthy, honest and flexible and can work as part of a team. So anything they can put on their application form that steers employers towards that, whether they've been in a football team, head girl, head boy, anything like that, will hopefully make them more appealable to an employer. Finally, unfortunately, we do have to prepare candidates for rejection. It is a very, very competitive process, but we do have record numbers of people gaining an apprenticeship. Also, encourage the candidates to ask for feedback from the learning providers. We do get feedback from training providers, which I do send on to local authorities, connections, services, etc. But it's really useful from a candidate's point of view to find out why they haven't got it. All of the training providers will provide feedback. Also, try to encourage them not to be put off by rejection. That apprenticeship is round the corner. Do prompt them. They will get there eventually. Perseverance. But hopefully they won't get too many rejections. Do prompt them to get careers advice as well. Do prompt them to make use of the careers service. We've got the hotline number there. There's also going to be the Next Steps website, etc. So do make sure that they are trying to access some assistance as well. There's my email address there. If anyone does have any questions or any queries, please do feel free to drop me an email. Also, if you do have any feedback on the system, we are constantly updating and developing the system, so feedback is greatly appreciated. We do try to incorporate as much feedback as we can when we are further developing the system. As I said, I am open for questions. I am going to be in the speakers corner section afterwards, so if you do have any questions, please do come and see me. We've also got the National Apprenticeship Service here. I think they're on number 25. They're all there to help you as well. So please do feel free to come and speak to us if you do have any questions or any concerns. And thank you very much for your time this afternoon.